Hi, it's Greg Pryor in Overland Park, Kansas. It's July 25th, 2012, and I'm inviting you into my den to tell this story that happened in 1986 when I was playing for the Kansas City Royals on a very hot sunny day game with the Chicago White Sox. But before I tell my story, I'd like to tell you a little bit about how I got to Kansas City and a little bit about replacing guys like George Brett and Frank White in the lineup. To set this story up, because it's one of the more fun stories I had when I played with the Royals. But in 1978 and 1981, I played for the Chicago White Sox, and I really didn't like the Kansas City Royals that much because they'd always beat us, and I didn't like them. I didn't talk to them when I got on base. In fact, I didn't start meeting any of them until I got traded to Kansas City in 1982. So here I go from the Chicago White Sox, a team that had never won a division up for a long time, to the Kansas City Royals, who had won a lot of games in the late 70s, early 80s, and I get traded to them, and I got to play with George Brett and Frank White, got to know them very well, and obviously they made me a better ball player, and hopefully I made them a better ball player. But on this day game in 1986, it was my fifth season in Kansas City. I'm sitting on the bench with George Brett, and it's the fourth inning, and he looked at me and he goes, "Hey, do you have a bat that feels good?" And mind you, now here's George Brett, who got the third highest number of votes to get in the Hall of Fame in history, asking me, look at my baseball card, it's not as good as his is, to use my bat. And I was kind of embarrassed because the bat I was using at the time, I had stolen out of Frank White's locker. And as you see, if you get the close-up here, you see Frank White's name over here. And I borrowed Frank's bat and didn't even ask him because he lockered next to me. And when I was bored, I would look at his bats, and I found this one, and it felt really good. So I put tape on the handle, and I told George, I said, "George, I'm using a Frank White model. It's got tape. It's got tape on the handle down in the bat rack." So George is down there, and he steps out on the on-deck circle, and he's got the ring. You can even see the circle here where he had the ring on. He's swinging this dark bat, and George Brett never used a dark bat. You know, it was kind of funny that I was the only one in the stadium other than George that knew he was going to use my bat, which is really Frank White's bat. So George gets up to home plate, and he gets a base hit. And I didn't know what was going on. They stopped the game, and George is waving to the fans. And I looked up on a scoreboard, and George had used this bat to get his 2,000th hit. And after the game, the bat was in the which we won. It was a 17-inning game, and I actually got in the game late in the game. I got 2 hits later in the game, and George had gone into the game hitting into 230s, so I know why he was trying to find anything that would give him a hit. But after the game, the bat, which George broke, was in the garbage can. And I'm walking up to the clubhouse, and I looked in the garbage can, I saw the bat, and I grabbed it, and I ran up to his locker, and I said, "George, this is your 2,000th hit bat. You can't throw this away." He says, "Oh, that bat," I can't believe I used that bat. It's a crappy bat." He says, "I broke it anyway." I said, "Well, sign it to me." So right here, George Brett, right in front of his locker in at the time Royal Stadium, put 2,000th hit George Brett on the bat. And I've had it ever since, and I'm so proud to have it, and I don't know if I'll ever part with it, but it's kind of a nice memento, even though I'm sorry, Frank, if you're watching this, that I stole your bat. And George, thanks for using my bat. It's been a great part of my life, and now I can say I've been in disco demolition in Comiskey Park. I played in the Pine Tar game, and I loaned George Brett a bat that he got his 2,000th hit with, and I'm really proud of it. Thanks for joining me. Hey, check back on the other YouTubes. I'm going to share stories about my career, and I'll share the story about the Pine Tar game in Yankee Stadium, and also disco demolition in Comiskey Park when the fans caused the game to be forfeited to the Tigers because of fan violence. You're going to love those stories. Yeah, and also I want you to go to sports-aholic.com and check out our website there. We're on Facebook, sports-aholic.com, and even go to Life Priority, LIFEPRIORITY, lifepriority.com for the best health supplements in the whole world. And check my Facebook out with Greg Pryor, and you'll love that too.